As we always do here at Daniel Davis Deep Dive, we are bringing you the latest information, and we now have some breaking news actually on the investigation of the July 13th attempted assassination of Donald Trump. There has been some additional information, and video has come out since last night. Other video literally an hour ago as we're bringing this to you today. So it is very, very fresh, and some of it is clearing some things up, and some of the other information that's supposed to clear things up is making it more cloudy and resulting in more questions. So we're going to get right into this now. Let's go ahead. So first of all, ABC News released some video this morning of some of the local counter sniper teams and local law enforcement officials who were involved in the event on that Saturday, who are a little bit upset at the way some of them were being portrayed, as though the Secret Service is putting blame on them or so, and now then they're trying to set the record straight. As we'll see, however, some of the things that they're saying aren't quite lining up with other things that we are seeing, and open up a whole bunch of questions that the interviewers did not ask. But first of all, let's get into this one. Here's how Fox News reported it earlier today.
Gunman Thomas Matthew Crooks was on law enforcement's radar for longer than previously reported. One of the first text messages was sent by a local counter sniper who was ending his shift about an hour and a half before the gunfire. At 4:26 p.m., he wrote, quote, "Someone followed our lead and snuck in and parked by our cars, just so you know. I'm just letting you know because you see me go out with my rifle and put it in my car. So he knows you guys are up there sitting to the direct right on a picnic table about 50 yards from the exit." A little more than an hour later, and Crooks was a step ahead. Another text between local counter snipers reads, quote, "Kid learning around the building we are in. AGR, I believe it is. I did see him with a rangefinder looking towards stage. FYI, if you want to notify Secret Service snipers to look out. I lost sight of him." At the same time, these photos were reportedly relayed through a series of steps from local to state officers and then to the Secret Service posted in a command center. But the Secret Service agents tasked with directly protecting Trump were reportedly never alerted. And now, for the first time in an ABC News exclusive, the local counter sniper is sharing what he saw as an early warning sign.
We were supposed to get a face-to-face briefing with the Secret Service snipers whenever they arrived, and that never happened. So I think that was probably a pivotal point where I started thinking things were wrong, because that never happened, and we had no communication with the Secret Service.
Okay, this raises quite a few problems for me. Now, this guy right there, now they're making a saying, and all these guys come across sounding like very sympathetic figures, as the couple of other clips I'm going to show you momentarily. But it raises a lot of questions to somebody who's supposed to be law enforcement agency. I'll just tell you, from somebody who's got a lot of military experience and had a whole career as an enlisted and then an officer, most of the people that are in law enforcement are type A personalities, go-getters, make things happen, initiative taking, don't wait for somebody else to do something. And what you're going to see throughout all of these things that I'm showing you here, there is a remarkable lack of initiative of people to take action on one of the circumstances where the consequences could be the most dire. I mean, even if you're just talking about your self-interest here, you're talking about the former president of the United States, potentially the next president of the United States is out there on your watch, and you're going to identify a bunch of things, and nobody's going to take decisive action, and they're going to be okay with it. That's one of the big red flags I've got just overall, as to how every single one of these experts, and we're going to be seeing some reports and at various times of the local, state, and then the federal with the Secret Service folks, and even some ATF people who have apparently also shown up in various reports. Nobody took the initiative to make sure that action was taken here. And I'm going to show you one video that has only popped up that I saw for the first time just about an hour ago, that is going to put some of this in even starker relief about how could you guys have sat there without action when all of these other things are going on underneath it. Now, you may recall from one of our first videos analyzing all the things that were going on here, is I showed many of the people who were on the ground, witnesses that day, talking about things many minutes before this happened. They were pointing. They were trying to get people's attention on the up in the Secret Service people. They were shouting, and actually some of that you're going to hear in one of the other videos that we've also heard in some of the original videos. But you're going to see there's a lot of time passing here. And especially some of the people in this video here, I'm going to show you a diagram that shows where one of them in particular was. And there's going to be some real questions of, with all of the chaos and the noise that was going on, why no one took action even then. So one of the first things from that video I've just shown you there that really stood out is that the first contact was made at 4:26, almost 2 full hours before the shots were ended up firing. And then they went on to say that they saw a rangefinder pointing toward the stage. Now, that should have not just been something that, hey, I'm going to send off an email to somebody, a text message, and just kind of FYI, I want to let you know. So you're there expressly. Let this sink in. Your express purpose is to provide security. So you're supposed to be watching for anything anomalous, and especially if you see something that there may be someone with nefarious intent, you're supposed to leap into action. So you now say someone doesn't look right. You see them and identify as a rangefinder looking to the stage where the president is going to be speaking, and all you do is send a text message. You don't take action. You don't immediately go down there. You don't get a posse and go after the guy. So that's the first big problem that I see with that part there. The other one is obvious that a lot of people are already talking about. And that's no communication between the local, the state, and then the Secret Service, the federal officers. So that, of course, is a major red flag that needs a lot of concern. How that couldn't have happened, and again, I'm just musing here as someone who's a type A personality, and you put me in a situation like that where there's a security element involved here. If there's no communication, I mean, that is like an absolute primary requirement for any kind of operation, is that you establish communication links. And if you're telling me from the beginning there's no communication, and you're talking about, again, protecting the life of the former president of the United States on your watch, and you're not going to resolve it yourself. No one took initiative to say, hey, where is the Secret Service guy? Because in one of these other videos, you're going to see there was a reference to a command center, and that there were people who were sending information to the command center. So there was a command center. So there was a place where all of these things are supposed to coalesce, to where someone collects all the information. So why didn't one of those guys get up and walk, 50 feet, 100 feet maybe, to where this place was, and say, hey, what's your channel? I don't have your channel, or what's your phone number so we can have text messages, something. But to just say, hey, no one came and talked to me and you didn't do anything, you didn't take any action. I mean, that's a problem right there. Now, I don't know if that's a sign of any kind of nefarious intent, or that the stories aren't lining up. It's too early to tell that. But I can tell you, from somebody who's involved in similar type operations, I would never, under any circumstances, passively allow a situation to go forward without communication links directly to the other people who are out there with weapons, so that it's impossible to coordinate any action if anything should happen. Again, that's an elementary part of what's going on here. Nothing was done. Okay, now let's go up to the second video here.
Members of the Beaver County SWAT team rushed to the shooter's rooftop.
There's a ladder right here.
As seen in footage from Rich Gianvito's helmet camera.
Thanks, brother. Yep.
So we had access through that ladder, got up onto the roof.
And as you're scrambling onto that roof, you don't know for sure whether he's dead or alive, or whether you'll encounter fire.
At that point, no.
So what are you prepared? Are you prepared for a firefight at that point?
Well, we're prepared for anything at that point, because at this time we're unsure.
Give me a solid perimeter. Get guys prepped to clear the building.
He encountered the shooter's bloodied body some 400 feet from the stage.
Okay, some problems with this here. Now, this could be a simple case of trying to sound dramatic and sound like you're a hero, and oh my God, it was just like, oh, I'm going into Vietnam, man, and there's commies everywhere. I don't know, something like that. This guy sounds very dramatic. And so the interviewer says, so you were going up that ladder and you didn't know what you were going to get involved. You could have been going into a firefight. That's BS. he knew for sure there wasn't going to be a firefight there. As you saw when he went up there, and when you watch that full video cam, he's already on the ground. Everybody's been alerted at this point. He talked to people who were inside the building, the one under which Crook's body was currently laying. So everybody's aware of it. They talked about people already on the roof. He's already said that. And now that this guy goes up there, and if he actually really didn't know that what was on the other side, why is he going to send up the female medic first? Because when you watch that full video there, you see the guy tell the woman, you go up first. So I want to make sure everything's okay, or something to that effect. So not sure how brave it would be to send a woman up first who's a medic, who's not even armed, presumably, into a situation. And then you see it from his video cam there when he gets up. There's at least 4 people that are sitting there around the body. So I'm not sure what he was intended to do there, but you see that his story and the things he's saying aren't lining up. And that's one of the things I'm trying to point out here, that a number of these claims that these people are saying on this camera aren't lining up to what you see with that and with other video. Moving on to the third one.
The SWAT team from Beaver County, Pennsylvania knew something about the scrawny young man seemed off. He can be seen in this video obtained by ABC affiliate WTAE skulking around former President Trump's rally. Text messages between local snipers show they noticed Thomas Matthew Crooks at 4:26 p.m., nearly 2 hours before the attempted assassination that would injure Trump, kill a man, and severely hurt 2 others. You see me go out with my rifle, one of the snipers texted, so he knows you guys are up there. By 5:14 p.m., they grew suspicious.
He was looking up and down the building and just wandering around, and it just seemed out of place.
Greg Nichols snapped these photos of the shooter.
We had a text group between the local snipers that were on scene. I had sent those pictures out to that group and advised them of what I noticed and what I'd seen.
What do you think is transpiring once you send in what you've sent in?
I assumed that there would be somebody coming out to speak with this individual, or find out what's going on.
So how do you know if Greg's concerns about Crooks are being relayed properly?
We don't. We have to assume that when he put that information out to command, that command took that information and did something with it. We don't know if they did.
Okay, so you've already had one of the other guys in that group who said, we never had any communication with the top. So now then you have these guys saying, well, we passed it up to higher echelons and we assumed it was going up. So somebody's communicating with somebody. But again, you have this extraordinary lack of initiative or interest in chasing some things down. Now, that particular photograph that the guy named Greg Nichols took of Crooks. So he was looking down on him. And he took the photograph from above. Now, it's really important to see this. So we already know, because of the body cam footage that we've seen, is that inside the building where Crooks was shooting from, there was already some kind of headquarters. Lots of uniformed people were inside there. So that we know. We've heard that from several different sources here, and it was also validated on the body cam footage. But on the building that was adjacent to it, the one that was just behind that had Overwatch on the building, this is where he took the picture. Gary, if you can bring that full screen up, that diagram, I'm going to show you what you're looking at here. So what you see with this big red arrow there, that's the approximate location of where Crook's body was found. Now, on the building directly behind it, so you see this ducting right here, this air conditioning duct of some sort, just off to the right of this. That's the picture you see above right here. So here's that same ducting, whatever. This is the building where Crooks was. And on that route, that window right there, the one I'm using my pointers to, underneath there's a retaining wall right here, and that's where that photograph was taken. So he was in here. Now, we also knew from one of the other body cam that this window right here, which was also open on that day, what they said is that there were Secret Service counter sniper teams in there. Well, so folks, you can see that's the window here. That's the other one. They have complete visibility on this window or on the building here. All you got to do is look out the window. Now, if you're on a high window and you're there to provide security, what do you suppose you're going to be doing all the time? Looking out the window. That's the whole point of being up there, is to be looking out. Now, what do you think the chances are that a lot of time is going to pass, that people are going to be shouting, he has a gun, that's a lot of things are going on, moving parts, etc., and you're not going to see any of it? right there. And we don't know for sure how long Crooks had actually been on that building. We've seen a couple of videos where you can physically see him trying to low crawl up the thing to get closer to the ridge on the top of the roof there. So some amount of time was passing, and that's when you had a lot of people screaming, trying to get policemen's attention to it. Now, all that is a setup. I'm going to now show you the latest video that has just surfaced about an hour or so ago that shows just how much action was on the ground. So these guys are talking, number one, at least two of them were at one point or another in the windows overlooking the building and overlooking Trump's site. They've already said that they're on the lookout because they've seen somebody with a rangefinder. They've got a picture of him. They know what he looks like. And all of a sudden, on the building right in front of them, you're about to see a lot of action here. Now, also notice how many policemen there are around. You're seeing a guy run, and you're going to see that picnic table that was referred to in the first video. You're going to see that. You're actually going to see a policeman standing on it, trying to look up to the roof. So lots of law enforcement in their different uniforms. So it appears both on at least the state and the local level are completely aware of something going on here. But nobody's taking any action until you hear the bullets ring out. Now, this is a bit of a long video, but I'm showing it to you on purpose so you can see just how much time is passing to where any one of these guys should have been able to either call somebody over at the rally site itself and say, get the president off the stage, get up on the roof, take some action, fire their weapon in the air, if nothing else, just to alert everybody what's going on. But none of those things happen at all by any single individual here. Watch this video here. Let me get it set up here if you could. And here we go. Okay, by the way, just forget about this timestamp on the bottom. It says 6:10 p.m. That's not right. It never changes. I'm going to show you about 2 minutes and 4 seconds, at least, a video before the shots start ringing out. Watch this.
If he was doing the job, I wouldn't even be doing this. There's fucking cops surrounding this whole entire fucking building right now.
There's something going on in this building.
Instead, I'm here with you fighting like hell to get a senator elected and to make sure.
Oh my God. There's somebody in this building.
And it's not easy because we have millions and millions of people in our country. Dangerous people, criminals. We have criminals. We have drug dealers. We have people that should not be here. In recorded history, we're the best story. In fact, if they could ever put up a chart, I don't know if they could do it. You guys have access to that chart, but I love it. You don't mind if I go off teleprompter, do you? This is not the root. This is the real word. I'm trying to explain. Oh, it is. You guys are doing it.
So you see these guys all over the place. Cops walking around, they're backing off. One of them had his weapon drawn. No one's alerted anyone. No one's told the crowd, hey, watch out. There's somebody, some danger here. Nothing. Now watch these two people here going on here because you're going to see them run away in a minute. So something apparently is going on at the last second because they start getting more action. Some kind of sound. He goes back over. Now you see this woman duck. Now she's running away here. So we're getting close to it. Watch what happens next.
Make yourself small, bro. I don't know what's going on.
You see this cop he was watching again on the right hander. He backed up. Now you hear the guy shout. Now about 9 seconds and one more round. Allegedly the kill shot. That's allegedly the kill shot. That's the last one. It sounded different. It's interesting because from this angle, there's just a little bit of difference between the first three and the second five, but a significant difference in the sixth shot, which definitely came from some kind of a different weapon here. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens with that. But that's just more of the acoustic signals to see. But you can see these guys are talking like, they didn't know anything. You remember the former now director of the Secret Service, Cheadle, Kimberly Cheadle, said at first we only knew seconds before the shots were fired that something was going on. And yet we see that that's absolutely not the case, because they knew a long time before that. And I mean, you still seemed like an interminable amount of time. It was 2 minutes and 4 seconds before the shots were fired out. And obviously this kid who had the camera was there to see the Trump rally. He had, earlier in the video, you can see him, he's actually trying to look through the fence to see Trump or whatever, but something had his attention. So he's seeing all these cops run around, and so he's videoing back and forth. And you're like, every opportunity in the world was for them to take camera. Obviously they knew something was going on. Also important time-wise to remember, and this is one of the key questions that needs to be answered also. About this same time, about 2 minutes plus before the shots were fired out, you had the counter sniper team, the southern one. There were two, a north and a south one, on top of the different barns behind Trump, that had been oriented to the south, that suddenly picked up their gear and oriented right to where this was coming from. So obviously somebody is communicating something. So people know something that's going on, and all different echelons of the Secret Service is happening. But no one's paying any attention. No one's taking any action again. And so one of the real questions that needs to be answered is, why not? All these guys that you saw interviewed there for ABC News, they need to be investigated with an actual investigation, with somebody who has some kind of command authority. And apparently also just within the last hour or so, Congress has announced that they're going to form a task force. They have some both Republican and Democratic members. I haven't had a chance just to look through the background of these people to see, are these people law enforcement experienced? Are they military experienced? Because it's important. It's not just to have somebody who's politically savvy. You need to have somebody who knows what they're talking about, because when some people make comments like what we've seen so far, and you don't have a law enforcement background, or you've never done these kind of things, like, say, for example, Tony Schaefer or Matthew Ho, who's done these kind of things, who's been on these kind of details, there should be nobody on that, or not many people on that task force, unless they actually know what they're talking about. Because if someone says something that's very sincere, like a lot of these guys on the ABC News, the interviewer, for example, he probably has no idea. He didn't even know the follow-up questions to ask. He hasn't asked any of the questions that I am asking right away, just as soon as I hear them. These investigations need to take that into consideration and find out, why did you not take any action here? So, Gary, bring that picture up of the buildings, if you would, back up. This is another thing that's also very important. So you see on the upper left hand here, where these guys are located, the cop and the other guy they're looking up. This is after the shooting at this point. But he was in that window right there, so overlooking this. Now, with all of that video I just showed you, you see 2 minutes where people were shouting, where cops were running around. Now, why in the world, tell me why in the world that a policeman who's a counter sniper, who was in a window overlooking, so there was at least 2 windows that are reported to have had Secret Service members or counter sniper teams, whether local ones or not, overlooking that area. Why did no one look out the window? If there's cops on the ground, you could see the guy who's backing up. He's trying to get a vantage point. One guy's standing up on the picnic table to see if he can see a little higher. And you can tell from the angle here. So you could, the guy on the ground even couldn't see Crooks, because he was back on the other side of the top of the building, on the back side of it. So he never was visible from that angle here. But he sure was visible from the building behind it. From those 2 windows, we know for a fact, because we've seen video, Gary has showed it to you before, where they're actually inside that window and they show what the camera could see looking out. If you're supposed to be looking for threats, you're going to be right in that window. You maybe even have your head sticking out of it. But for sure, when you hear all this shouting and stuff on the ground, and the guy out there who was right next to that part of the window where he's shouting, he's got a gun, he's got a gun. Something ain't right here, folks. Just something that's not right about this. And we need to get to the bottom of it, because look, there's so many things that are at play here. And I'll just tell you, I have lots of questions and I can see things that are not right, but there's a bunch of information I don't have that makes it impossible for me at this point to be able to say with any certainty what did happen. I can tell you what didn't happen, and I can tell you some big red flags of some things that should have happened that didn't. And we need to have some answers to that. But Look, this is either, as I think I said on the very first episode we did on this, either like weapons grade malpractice where people don't know what they're doing, or there's something more to this. And all of America needs to know exactly what happens. And look, anytime you get a politician, an attempted assassination, there's a lot of people who don't like it, who don't like that person. So there's lots of potential people it could have been. And we don't know where this could lead. It could lead a lot of places that could be really bad if it came out. And frankly, I don't care. I want the truth to come out, whatever it is. And okay, so that's with the current state. Literally within the last hour, many things are happening. So we're bringing you this up today. We're going to keep pressing on any kind of information that comes out, and we're going to tell you if it passes the sniff test, and if it smells like something fishy. We're going to bring that to you, but we're going to bring you all the information here. And again, I'm not a medical expert, so I can't say with absolute certainty that this doesn't look right either. But I'll tell you that just from a normal human perspective, this also is very curious and a little odd. And that is the fact that you may have heard that Trump over the weekend took the bandage off of his ear. So now all of a sudden we have some visibility on the ear. What you're looking at right there is on the left. It's actually a high def photograph of President Trump moments before the rounds were fired. I think that was the New York Times photographer that took that one. And you can see what his ear looked like before anything happened. Then the middle one there is, of course, obviously what happened as a result of the shot. You have all the top of the ear covered with blood, etc. And then this one on the right here is at a Bitcoin conference over the weekend on Saturday, I believe it was. And you see literally no scratches on his ear at all. And I've got another image here where I'm just putting the two ears, the two pictures of the ear, one from the right before the event on the 13th and another one on July 27th. And they look identical to me. The one on the right is not high def, but it's fairly clear. And you see that the claim is that the doctors who had examined Trump say that there was a 2 centimeter wide wound on the ear. Do you see a 2 centimeter gap anywhere on that ear it's missing? I mean, okay, it's one thing you get a scratch and it can heal within a couple of weeks or so, but even a scratch that drew blood is going to leave some kind of mark, some kind of scar, and I don't see anything on there. And Gary, go back to that previous picture, the one that had the wound on the ear. You can see what it appears anyway on the upper right and on the upper left of the ear that there does appear, in comparison to the picture on the left of that ear prior to the wounding, it looks like there's small portions out of it, especially on the upper left-hand part. It looks like, as compared to the picture on the left, that there is indeed a 2 centimeter wide gap out of it. But if that was the case, I don't think you can do plastic surgery that fast and to physically replace it. But I don't know. So maybe there's more to it than that. I don't say anything other than to show you that's just more of the things that it's just not adding up. We would expect to see it scab, some kind of a scar that has a dark something. I don't know. Apparently, there's the FBI said they want to interview Trump. This is also just breaking news. Trump has allegedly agreed to it, so we'll see if that happens. Maybe it'll turn out there's nothing at all. Maybe that's just a bad angle on the second picture from the weekend, and maybe if you got high definition picture somewhere else, you would be able to see something. I don't know. I'm just bringing it to you like we do with all these things because we're unintimidated and uncompromised, and we're going to get to the truth, whatever it is, wherever it may end up leading. So we'll see with that. Now, I want to end up on something here because it's relative to one of the guests we have on here a lot, and that is Professor John Mearsheimer. We had just on a few days ago. He published something on his website called Thought of the Day. And when I read that, I thought how appropriate that is to kind of what we're going through here. This is Hannah Arendt. And he says that the quote is that this constant lying is not aimed at making people believe a lie, but at ensuring that no one believes anything anymore. A people that can no longer distinguish between truth and lies cannot distinguish between right and wrong. And such a people, deprived of the power to think and judge, is, without knowing and willing it, completely subjected to the rule of lies. With such people, you can do whatever you want. And that is a frightening thought. I think the reference there was to what happened with the Nazis and their rise, because I believe he was a German historian and he was part of a lot of the Hitler lies in the past. So he knows just how powerful a lie can be, especially when it's told in the right way, and what can happen with the population when they lose the ability to know what's true and what's not, and then they don't believe anything, and then they can be manipulated into all kinds of bad things. And certainly we've, not just with this issue here, we've talked about that a lot on here, and that's just why I'm so passionately devoted to bringing whatever the truth is and wherever it may lead, because I know the danger is if we stop believing the truth, or if in cases like we see really unfolding all around us in so many different areas, you don't even know what's true anymore. Truth is mixed in with lies. Both sides are doing it. All sides of a situation, whether you're talking domestic politics, international military affairs, stuff going on with what allegedly China's doing, Russia's doing, North Korea, etc. And all of a sudden now you don't even know what's true anymore. And so as a result, you don't have a trust in anything the government says. It could even be telling you the truth, but now all of a sudden you don't believe it. Someone could be giving you a warning of something that's legitimately concerning, but because we don't have trust in any figure, we don't believe that either. And so in those cases, the tendency is that those in power have lots of ability, because even when they just lie bold-faced, it's become so commonplace that no one even thinks about it. No one bats an eye about it. That's just how it works in Washington these days, for example. And then when that happens, then people began to be able to take all kinds of action in your name, even, that could have disastrous and fatal consequences, even gone far enough. The truth, folks, it does matter. It matters what really happened. Ground truth matters for all of us. Never forget that. Well, listen, thank you for paying attention to us today and coming on. Like we'll say, we're going to stay on top of this. Understand that maybe even as soon as tomorrow, there's going to be another hearing with I think the new acting director of the Secret Service, where they're going to be asking more questions. Maybe we'll get some answers to some of these things we've been asking here. We'll see. If there's any new information, you can count on us to bring it to you. In the meantime, we'll see you on the next episode of Daniel Davis Deep Dive.